A Slice of Life. Arrival in the U.S. Part 1.
September 1st, 2024. Arrival in the U.S. A new beginning. Today, I arrived in the United States. The flight was long, but it was mostly uneventful. I spent most of the time staring out of the window, trying to imagine what the next chapter of my life would be like. As I walked off the plane and into the airport, I was hit with a wave of excitement and nervousness. The language barrier felt real right away, even though I had been practicing English for years. The signs at the airport were clear, but it was the fast speech of the people around me that made me second-guess myself. My new home here is a small rental apartment in a neighborhood close to my university. It's very different from the apartment I had back in China, smaller, cozier, but a bit isolated. I was worried at first that I wouldn't be able to communicate with the landlord, but he was surprisingly kind. He didn't speak much Mandarin, but we managed to get through the basics with Translate. I was just happy that the apartment was clean and had all the essentials, though the furniture seemed to be from the 90s. I tried to unpack my things, but there's this overwhelming feeling that everything is just so new, so different. The fact that I can't read the street signs properly or understand the local news makes me feel like an outsider. But at the same time, it's exciting to think about how much I will learn in the next few months. I spent the evening texting my family back home. They're excited for me, but I can hear the worry in their voices. They keep telling me to be careful and to make sure I stay safe. I promised them I would, but it's hard not to feel a little lonely already. September 2nd, 2024. Grocery shopping, a comedy of errors. Today was a bit of a disaster. I decided to go grocery shopping, hoping to make something familiar for dinner. But the experience was far from familiar. The store was huge and I had no idea where to find anything. I wandered up and down the aisles, staring at the labels and feeling completely out of my depth. First of all, I couldn't figure out the difference between whole wheat and multigrain bread. I stared at the bread aisle for at least 10 minutes, picking up every loaf to read the labels, only to end up putting them all back in confusion. Then I accidentally grabbed what I thought was soy sauce, but turned out to be Worcestershire sauce. I didn't realize until I got home and tried to cook with it. Let's just say the stir-fry didn't turn out as planned. But the worst part? The checkout. I had a few items and the cashier scanned them. But when she asked for my zip code, I froze. I had no idea what that meant, so I just stared at her. She repeated herself, but I still didn't understand. In the end, I had to ask her what a zip code was. It was embarrassing, but she just smiled and said, "It's okay, don't worry about it." I appreciated her kindness, but I felt a little like a fish out of water. September 3rd, 2024. Starting school, the nervous first step. Today was my first day on campus. I woke up early, full of nerves. I had to make sure I knew how to get there. The bus ride was overwhelming, filled with people who seemed so confident and comfortable. I could barely understand what they were saying to each other. It was fast, casual conversation that I couldn't keep up with, and I kept second-guessing myself. When I arrived at the university, I couldn't believe how big it was. There were so many buildings, and everything seemed like it was happening at once. The orientation session was helpful in terms of giving us the information we needed, but I couldn't help but feel out of place. I didn't know anyone, and I struggled to understand some of the jokes they made during the welcome speech. I felt like the only international student in the room. The American students were so friendly, but their slang and humor were completely different from anything I had experienced. When I tried to talk to a group, I was afraid of making mistakes, so I just listened. By the end of the day, I was exhausted. I had a headache from all the new information, and I felt like I had barely absorbed any of it. I went back to my apartment, feeling both excited and overwhelmed. I think it's going to take a little while to adjust to the new culture, language, and way of life here. September 4th, 2024. The first friendship, a small victory. Today, something unexpected happened. I met someone in my introduction to psychology class. Her name is Emily, and she's an American student. She noticed that I was struggling to understand the professor's lecture and kindly offered to help me after class. We started talking, and I explained that I was from China and that English was still challenging for me. She was incredibly patient, and when I made a mistake, she didn't laugh or make me feel embarrassed. Instead, she helped me correct it. We exchanged phone numbers, and Emily invited me to a campus event this weekend. It felt like a huge step forward, as I had been nervous about making friends. I never expected someone to approach me so kindly, especially given the cultural differences. She made me feel like I belonged here, even if just a little. It made me realize that despite the language barrier, people are the same everywhere. They want to connect, help, and make others feel welcome. This small interaction lifted my spirits, and I felt a little less alone in this new country. September 7th, 2024, Saturday. The first weekend, getting to know the city. The weekend is here, and it's been a much-needed break. Emily invited me to join her and some friends on a sightseeing trip around the city. I was nervous at first, but I decided to go. I'm so glad I did. We visited a local park, walked around a museum, and stopped by a cafe. The city is so different from home, but in a good way. I'm still getting used to the fast pace of everything, but today felt like a real connection with my new environment. It's funny how much more I can understand about this country when I'm not trying to learn everything all at once. Being around Emily and her friends helped me relax and enjoy the simple things. The laughter, the conversations, even the silly jokes that I don't always get. I'm still not sure about a lot of things, like how the bus system works or what to say when someone asks me if I want extra cheese on my pizza. But I'm taking it one step at a time. And today I felt like maybe I could get the hang of this place after all. September 8th, 2024, Sunday. Homesickness hits, missing home. Today I had my first real homesick moment. It hit me out of nowhere. I was on the phone with my mom, and suddenly I missed everything about home. The familiar food, the streets, the sounds. I miss speaking Chinese without thinking. I miss my family and the way we could just be together without any language barriers. I've been keeping busy and I've made new friends, but there's still a part of me that feels disconnected. Even the food here is strange. While I'm getting better at cooking, nothing quite tastes like home. After talking to my mom, I realized I need to give myself permission to feel homesick. It's okay to miss home while embracing this new chapter. It's all part of the journey. September 9th, 2024, Monday. Settling in little victories. Today was a better day. I woke up feeling more confident about my English, and the interactions with classmates are getting easier. There are still moments when I stumble or get nervous, but I'm learning to let go of the fear of making mistakes. My first week in the US was filled with ups and downs. There were moments of triumph, like meeting Emily and understanding the campus, and moments of frustration, like getting lost in the grocery store and feeling out of place. But I'm starting to see that all of these things are part of the process. As I walk around campus, I start to feel like I'm slowly becoming a part of it. It might take time, but I know I'll get there. And for the first time, I'm starting to look forward to the future here. Not just as a student, but as someone who's building a new life. September 10th, 2024, Tuesday. A cultural shock, the first mistake. I made my first major cultural mistake today. It wasn't anything big, but I'm still a little embarrassed about it. I was in class trying to get to know more of my American classmates. We were discussing an upcoming group project, and I made a comment about how in China, we always focus on group harmony when working together. I thought it was a positive thing, but everyone stared at me like I had said something strange. One of my classmates asked, "So, does that mean you don't speak your mind in China?" I didn't know how to explain. In Chinese culture, we value respect and avoiding conflict, so we tend to be more indirect. But trying to explain that in English, especially with my limited vocabulary, made me feel awkward. After class, Emily reassured me that it was just a cultural misunderstanding, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that I had said the wrong thing. It's strange, sometimes I don't realize how different my background is until something like this happens. I know it's part of the learning process, but it still feels like a bit of a shock. September 11th, 2024, Wednesday. The language struggles continue. Language is still my biggest struggle. I can get by in most situations, but today I was at the bank, and the cashier asked me something I didn't understand. She said something about direct deposit, and I just nodded, pretending I understood. When she handed me the forms, I froze. I had no idea what to do with them. After a few seconds of awkward silence, I managed to say, "Sorry, can you explain it to me?" She was so kind and took the time to go over everything. But I still felt like an outsider. Later, I texted Emily about it, and she helped me understand what direct deposit was. It's so simple in theory, but when you're in a new country, everything seems like a mountain to climb. I just hope these language hurdles become smaller as I get more comfortable. September 12, 2024, Thursday. Learning about American holidays. I learned something interesting today. American holidays are very different from the ones we celebrate back home. I was in class when my professor mentioned Labor Day, and I realized I had no idea what it actually was. I thought it was just a day off from work. But apparently it's all about honoring the workers who built the country. Emily invited me to join her family for their Labor Day picnic this weekend. At first, I was hesitant, celebrating a holiday I know nothing about. But then I realized it could be a good opportunity to learn more about American culture. So I agreed. What really struck me was how much Americans celebrate holidays with big family gatherings and barbecues. It's a bit different from our more formal holidays back home, but I think I'm looking forward to the experience. I've never had a chance to see a traditional American holiday celebration, and I think this might be fun.